frolicking through the countryside in flowing silk dresses, letting the flow of passion lead you to a sensual rendezvous, dusting your lips and cheeks with rouge, reading a book in solitude. Leisure simply because you could afford the time to. And what is life if not those simple pleasures? Well, death and taxes, probably.
The Rococo period was a massive shift in art ideology and lifestyle that occurred in the French aristocracy between 1715 and 1789. Fresh out of Louis XIV's absolute monarchy, the upper class wanted to do away with the dramatism of the Baroque that their court so strongly adored, and turn to a frivolous life of leisure. In other words, they wanted to embrace their right, in quotes, to be upper class. Rococo was just as much a lifestyle as it was a change in artistic expression. Rococo was everywhere, from interior design to general mindset to art and fashion. Aristocrats during the Rococo period had a simple desire: happiness. To them, happiness was found in tranquility, passion, and tenderness. As such, they relocated from Versailles to Paris, where they could live out this desire. Happiness during the Rococo period was largely shaped by sociability. Thus, the salon became a large part of aristocratic culture. Salon is technically the French word for room, but these rooms held private, intimate events where the upper class would gather to essentially gossip. Salons provided the much-needed relaxation that was unobtainable in the court. Interestingly enough, Rococo is not a term used during the period it describes. The word Rococo itself is said to have derived from the word rocaille, an ornamental shell that has made its way into Rococo design. It was also slang used in the art studio. At this point, it's pretty clear that the upper class had a strong interest in pleasure, and of course, this interest extended into artistic practice, as most things do. Rococo art is characterized by light pastel colors, themes of courtship, mythology, and relaxation. It had a decorative quality: sweeping vines, the ornamental shells, and flowers that seemed to be in endless bloom. Many Rococo paintings display aristocrats in luxurious settings doing mundane things like listening to music and reading and generally enjoying the life they could afford to have. Of course, the pleasure of life also meant the pleasure of lovemaking. While not explicit, many Rococo paintings have playful and erotic undertones. Let's take a look at one of Rococo's most influential paintings, The Swing, 1767. Painted by Jean Fragonard, the scene initially portrays an aristocratic woman taking part in the ultimate leisurely activity, swinging in a garden. It seems innocent until you catch sight of the man looking up longingly at her, extending his arm as if he could reach her if he tried hard enough. Looking even closer, her shoe flies towards him in a subtle portrayal of flirtation. The erotic undertones become clear when you realize he's been blessed with a view of her upskirt. How scandalous. The Swing is just a very small glimpse into how Rococo artists portrayed love and pleasure. Francois Boucher is perhaps one of the most prolific Rococo painters, and a jack of all trades at that. Sure, he etched 36 plates and made tapestries for royals. Sure, he painted Madame Pompadour herself. But his single most important contribution to the Rococo era was one thing: his reinvention of the pastoral. Boucher expressed Rococo ideals through imagery of shepherds and shepherdesses, serving as a form of escapism from 18th century life. They engage in acts of pleasure, placed in lush landscapes with flowing clothes and blooming flowers. They are free to do as they please, in a sense, which happen to just be each other. As beautiful as Rococo artwork is, the frivolous nature of Rococo led it to come under fire by a great many. Philosopher Bernard Mandeville openly criticized the aristocratic class, claiming that their frivolous lifestyle was essentially boredom from leading lives without much hard labor. He also criticizes self-indulgent acts like overspending and infidelity, which were common among aristocrats. Other critics denounced Rococo art for its subversion of classical art tradition and convention. Rococo painting is unapologetically fantasy, which completely goes against any acceptable form of representation at the time. Despite this, Rococo has continuously held influence in the arts to this day. It has inspired artists such as Andy Warhol and Marcel Duchamp, influenced fashion for years to come, and is the reason why Paris is a fashion capital. It even shares some parallels to the camp aesthetic, which is all about theatrics, femininity, ornamentation, and artifice. To wrap this up, above anything, Rococo was an expression of the simple pleasures in life. As artists, we can look back to Rococo to remember that the simple pleasure of living is something worth capturing.